Hello, Culture Matters podcast. I'm so excited to introduce you to our guest. Before I do that, here's a quote I picked particularly for this guest. Here it is. Consumption is the sole end and purpose of all production, and the interest of the producer ought to be attended to, only so far as it may be necessary for promoting that of the consumer. The Wealth of Nations, Book 2, Chapter 2, page 329, Adam Smith. Of course, I had to pick that quote. My dear friend, Zach Conley is back after years, February in 2020, a month before the culture shock that shook the world. He was released on the Culture Matters podcast, episode 30. If you haven't listened to that episode, please listen to that episode either after this or go over there right now. We unpack Zach, the man, the myth, the legend. And since then, and even before then, he's been advising subject matter experts on not only, their business as a whole, but specifically marketing, their voice, their message, developing a presence that we call a brand, both on and offline, cultivating communities. And you may not be able to see this, but Zach is actually sitting in a pretty badass studio that he actually talked about creating all those years back. Zach's a man of action, and he could probably kick your ass while beating you in chess at the same time. I've got more to say. It's easy with him. LSAT just took it today, probably passed in his sleep. Thanks for coming back, bro.
I'll come back just for the intros. You have the best intros.
It's late o'clock on a Friday, and I took a little 5-hour of Riz Raz jazz for this weekend, dude. It's good to see you.
That's awesome. Yeah. So last time we were here, we caused COVID, I guess. In the lab.
I can't believe I was re-listening to episode 30, just a shout out. And I'm thinking, when was this? And I looked it up. It said February 2020.
So far, but so close, it feels. That was a lifetime away almost.
In short, I mean, what have you learned in the last 3 years?
All of it, I guess. I learned I really love my wife, being locked up with her. A lot of people got divorced, and I learned, my goodness, I'm having a great time. And this could just go on if it wants to, because we're having fun. So love my wife, love my kids, lots of skills, obviously. You get a lot of downtime in COVID. Some people chose to exploit those things to better themselves, and some people chose to sit back or cry. I try to continually improve no matter what. So, training, that's something I stood by. I got the book, Training to Win, working with Brad Lee, training platform, a big part of my life, military training, martial arts training. So that's a big part of my life. Growth in marketing, growth for clients. It was a big opportunity in COVID for, if you were online in any type of way, because everybody was online by force. So that happened to coincide really well. And just a bunch of other stuff.
Well, you interact and advise, work with people in, high performing people. So what type of behaviors did you see excel in the last, I guess it's been over 2 years, not yet 3.
I would say the same behaviors that excelled before, right? The people who take action and can provide good results for the people they're trying to help, who aren't amateurs, who say what they're going to do, who have integrity. They have the best forms of success. You can have success without having integrity, but in the long run, if you're not helping people, I think it'll come back and get you. So taking major action, being able to provide what you say, and I think having good intentions is the type of people who I see succeed most.
What are the and by the way, it's more than 2, it was like over 3.5 years, actually. I just realized that my math is off pretty terribly, right? February 2020, February 2023, we're almost into 2020, like, holy cow. So the opposites of I got integrity, massive action, good intentions.
Mhm.
What behaviors did you see where people missed out on the last handful of years to grow exponentially?
It's the same tried and true. The people who have excuses and find ways, they find problems for every solution. They say they're going to do certain things and then they have failure to launch. Um, and that can be unintentional too. It can be, I've had failure to launch due to fear, due to analysis paralysis, things like that. But being able to overcome those things and basically do the damn thing anyway
Hmm.
is what leads to success. So the opposite, I would say, is true for failure as well.
Did you see that the last 3 years was explosive for people around you, the ones that were, integral and acted and fulfilled their
Oh yeah,
word? Like, what are we?
people blew up their businesses for sure. I think the online opportunity, especially, was everybody, whether you had a home services company, local restaurant, or you're a coach, guru selling courses, everybody had to get online uh, one way or another if they wanted to survive. So I think people did it and failed because they didn't have the right guidance, or they just did it haphazardly. People did it and had massive success. People did it and just stayed afloat. That's all good. But I think if you didn't do it, you were probably statistically putting yourself at a huge disadvantage with any type of competition you have during that time.
Hmm.
And it's still true now, but it was more obvious when the world was shut down and we were all locked in our houses.
What do you see out there now? What's the energy like?
Now, I would say I see a lot of fatigue actually. People are fatigued of being on Zooms, on online courses. They want personal touch. And that's to be expected, I think, just based off human psychology is if you want to placate those people and give them what they want, you're going to have more interaction right now.
Hmm.
And that'll probably fade as well. It'll probably get back to a happy medium, but the past year at least, I'd say the people I was seeing, if they weren't getting a face to face or at least an online, if geographically you couldn't get face to face, like as far as people selling courses and things of that nature, I think those are a bit harder to sell right now because of the shutdown. Not that you can't, people still are. I'm just saying as a whole, it's a harder sell.
Why?
Just because people don't want to be on the screen as much right now. They were forced to be on Zoom, work remote, do all the online training, do all these check the boxes, and now they want face to face due to those restrictions. And I think it'll ease. That's just, I'm telling you, based on the data that I've seen, it's been harder to push a course or some sort of online coaching thing more than a get together mastermind, right? A get together mastermind is easy to sell. People want to do it. They've been locked up. So they want that human interaction, the networking, things like that. So
Are those on the uptick? Are you seeing people getting back together again for the
yes.
mastermind type deals?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you can see it not just with people I work with, but I see a lot of advertising for conferences now that probably even more than pre-pandemic. They're always there, but I feel like people are seeing that trend as well. So I'm seeing high level masterminds, selling high level masterminds, conferences, group coaching in person, vacation retreats that are, veiled as learning.
Well, let's say you have a lot of experience going to these participating in these types of conferences and groups. Someone listening to this that's thinking, I need to get in that room, but I don't know how to operate in it. What's your advice?
You get into the conferences and masterminds.
Capitalize on it, like how to make the most of it in your view.
Oh, so first find somebody you align with and do your research. Make sure that they are who they say they are and they have the experience and they've helped other people. I mean, if they can help other people, they can probably help you. And when you actually do choose and decide to go, don't just show up and try to memorize everything while you're there. Take notes. And I think it's more valuable, the networking, than usually what you have to learn, because as you know, it's the information age. You can find anything in books, online, YouTube. There's how many hours a day being posted that we'll never get through in our lifetime. You can find the information, but find somebody you align with who's teaching the subjects who can kind of package it together to make sense to you. That they're able to communicate, so you'll absorb that and be able to, like I said, take action and go do the things you want, and then level up your sphere of influence by networking with people who are there, and see what kind of collaborations can be made, what kind of referrals, um, things of that nature, and you'll get it. You'll get out what you want, most likely.
Were you at the Internet Earner Summit in 2018, 2019? I don't remember. Were you there?
No, I
No,
was
we
not.
were at that one though, together in
We went to
Arizona.
yes, we went to Build Your Empire.
Do you ever think about like the people that you met at those and how you're still and how like have you ever thought about how much of an impact those types of events have made on your life when you
Absolutely.
look back at who you met? Because I was going through this yesterday. I want to unpack it a little bit. I was like, wow, so many things have come from.
I do. And when I'm at those things, I don't have that much fun because I feel like it's work. But after the fact, just the people you meet and stay in contact with, and casually talk to and say, oh, do you know this guy, that guy? Like, more than you think comes from that. It's pretty crazy to think about, like the butterfly effect, right?
I could actually say that there's from the Internet Earners Summit, Haynes' event 20, I think it was 19. It was before the one we were at in Arizona.
Yeah, I remember you
I
going to
have
that.
friends, multiple friends for life from that have been on the show like multiple times.
Nice. Yeah, I remember I was in Idaho and you called me from it, telling me how great it was going to be for you. So you already knew back then.
Holy cow. What's your advice to people that want to expose their message to the masses? I mean, I know that's a broad, but we'll get granular, but
Yeah.
step one, what do I need to say? What do I need to admit to myself?
You need to admit that you first have a message worth exposing. And if not, go find one. Become able to teach it, right? And assuming you've done all that and you are an expert, either learn the skills to put yourself out there or hire somebody to help you put yourself out there who can guide you. Because it's kind of, in my experience as being a marketer, owning a marketing company, my job turns into coaching a lot more than it does even marketing, because I have to unpack years of knowledge into a fairly short time to get somebody uh, presentable to their audience, and even help them discover who their audience is, and then convey the right message that hits the right triggers at the right time over a period of time so that they can turn a profit and make the world a better place and do good.
What stops people from figuring out who their audience is?
I think a lot of people, especially subject matter experts, think they already know. It's good to have an idea of who you think your audience is, but a lot of times they miss the mark based on the data. So uh, Russell Brunson, for example, says you need to write down who your perfect client avatar is and get very specific. They're this old, male, like going to the gym, has 2 kids, right? But that's what you think, because that's you're wanting to talk to that person on a personal basis. When you go out to the market oftentimes tells you otherwise. And as we know, the market decides. So um, I help them as best as I can to help find that avatar. We put it out there, but a lot of times they won't want to alter the message because they already have a preconceived notion of who their message is for.
Do you think part of your help is helping them distinguish between that idealism versus the realism.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh,
And
this is good stuff.
yeah. And,
Wow,
you
wow.
know,
Can you unpack that? Yeah.
yeah, it's just when we're talking about going to market, you have to really move with speed too, because you're using money. I mean, it costs, they have to pay me, right? And they have to pay for the media that they're presenting. So if you're not quickly adjusting, like you have to give it long enough time to give you relevant data, right? So if you go out and you try to make a decision on a very limited budget after a very limited time, you're not going to have the real answers. But as we're running this week to week and month to month, you have to take the message the data is giving you and adjust quickly to hit the right target at the right time so that you can be profitable and grow your business and do all those things that you want to do and help people. If you don't, you're eventually going to flounder. And that's what a lot of people do is they go and they push the same message over and over again. It's like beating a dead horse, or they're not targeting the right audience and they just think that marketing doesn't work when really they're not marketing, they're hammering.
Is
So
it
it's
because the novelty, the role novelty plays in the consumer behavior? Meaning, it's like, think about it, the truth, right? Well, even if we're not thinking like literally here, but if Jesus was the truth, we got bored of that real quick. It's like we need the next thing. It's like, oh yeah, that's true, but maybe I just think, all right, let me project a little bit. I feel like I'm a has-been. I'm old, I'm old. I'm done. I did the book. It's been years. I'm unsexy. Now I'm walking down the road. Oh, there's Jay Doran. He's got a gut now. It's like Peterson. He was so cool. And now it's like I talk to people and they're like, he's become too much. It's like he's the same guy, but we're just bored. I'm curious
but
what you think of that.
I think, first of all, styles come and go. It's cyclical, right? But I still think Jordan Peterson's really cool. And people who might not have thought he was cool probably think he's even cooler now because he is, hardlining a bit. And people who are kind of on the fence, they don't like that. So he's identifying even better with who his core audience is, which is probably doing him wonders because his fans are actually real loyal, raging fans that, want to promote him. Whereas the fence setters, he's kind of driving away. And that's kind of what you want to do in marketing in general is find your tribe, right? Find your tribe, attract them, keep them close. You don't want to necessarily deflect everybody and be so hardline that, they hate you, but to an extent you do. So as far as being too old, I feel like that too. I'm like, man, I turned 38 and I'm a marketer, own a marketing company. I
Congrats.
feel like it's a young man's game. It should be, right? But I think if you're smart and you can stay up to date and use the knowledge from the past as well as implement the new techniques and features and all the latest and greatest, I think
Well,
it benefits.
sorry, you ever heard of Ogilvy?
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to acknowledge you though, and I think marketers, meaning marketers that marketing, maybe a
Mhm.
young man's game. People like you though, consultants, old man's game.
I think that sounds sexier. Yes, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's people that market the idea of marketing.
Hmm.
So those are
Yeah,
distributors of like ClickFunnels, for example. They're educators.
right.
But they may not even realize they are, but they're actually distributing the platform by marketing the idea of marketing. Then there's
Yeah.
people like you that help. Oh, I just lost your video for a second. I don't know what happened there.
Oh,
That's just for me. Selfishly, I want to look at you.
oh, here I can switch to, well, that's that's weird. Hold on.
I'll pause this for a second here.
Very necessary. Yeah. So on the consulting side, which is, very necessary, which I didn't realize so much until I started marketing for people. It was easy to get marketing clients, but then you have to educate them enough to be able to kind of leave the nest a little bit because a lot of marketing is content marketing and they wouldn't know how to film. They wouldn't know how to script. They wouldn't know what to say. They wouldn't know how to research what to say. So I would help them learn all this stuff, help them set up their own studios, or even a studio can be on your phone. It doesn't have to be some elaborate thing like I have or Brad has. But being able to present themselves, the consulting side. But I do live on the marketing side as far as selling marketing too, because a lot of times people don't even know what marketing is. So I have to educate them on what marketing is, how it works, the different mediums for it. And it's like blows their minds a lot of times. It's like, oh, I didn't even know that was available, or how that could impact my business. And you do have to sell it a bit sometimes. It's true. But yeah, putting them together, consulting does sound sexier, and I don't feel as old.
What do you think? What do people think marketing is that it isn't?
A lot of people think it's sales. Um, they think sales is marketing. It's not. I call them, I think they're cousins, right?
Huh.
Very much related, but different. Marketing should attract people so that you can sell them. Marketing should tell people who you are in your market, what you stand for, who you've worked with, how they feel about you. And if you're putting that in front of people, it's going to attract people so that you can sell them. A lot of people think that sales, or uh,
Who
even
you are, who you've worked with. What am I missing? I'm writing. I'm taking notes.
your position in the market, what your ethics are, um, how your clients felt about you.
Based on this information, I don't market.
No, you don't market.
And by the way, we could spend the rest of the time breaking down how much I'm failing, because I'm actually open to that. Because I would actually argue maybe that would be like help people. You know what
It
I'm
would
saying?
help a lot of people.
Maybe I start marketing in a sense.
You
Who am
probably,
I? Not a marketer.
well, I mean, I know from the time I met you, your goal was to make a huge impact and change the world. And if you don't ever get that message to people,
Zach, probably one of the lowest lows of COVID is that I barely saw you.
yeah,
Yeah, it's good to see you.
you too.
God, we met on a special day too. That was that was a special day. Not in my life even. That was a special day when we first met. And I was
Yeah.
wearing that. I used to dress myself in the dark. If you see, there's actually recordings. That's a joke, because
Oh,
before Jenna helped me out. No, there's a recording of what I was wearing that day that we met. We were in that little room doing like a, mastermind basically.
yeah. I remember
And
distinctly.
so, yeah, go on. Where am I messing up? Let's start with that. Let's use me as a case study here.
So you are, from what I see, doing really good boots on ground, shaking the right hands, meeting the right people. You're doing the podcast, so that should be a content machine. You probably need to do more video podcasts, so you can take all your clips and even organically distribute them on your website, on your social media, send them out in emails, get people on a list, and take the best ones and create ads around them and go reach out, whether it's to get even more podcast guests, to get clients directly. Like, a lot of people think it's just direct response marketing, but there's a brand building aspect to it. If you play the long game, just continually putting your message out there, you're going to do, what we were talking about with Jordan Peterson, is an attract your tribe, right? So the more people you have in that sphere who align with you, the better you are marketing, you're getting the results, right? So it's hard to do that boots on ground when you can only shake so many hands in a day, whereas you can virtually meet people by the thousands for relatively cheap by putting that message online through organic or paid media.
Do you think there's like an internal friction even with people that they're just like talking about? I find it, I have the friction. It's like, I love what I'm doing so much that it's hard, that I'm not, it's almost like I'm at peace with not talking about it. But I need to talk about it. I'm just curious, like, is that part of the value of having someone remind you, like, hey, like, you need to share your message?
If I think it depends on if it's important to you, right? So I could have a much larger marketing agency than I have and make a tremendous amount more money than I do, but I am not willing to sacrifice going to my son's baseball games because it makes me happy and I won't be able to get that back. Um, Other people, they'll sacrifice every event, everything to get the dollar because they're saying, I'll be able to set them up to buy them a house when they're older and I'll be able to do this and that. And that's they're correct as well, right? It's what your values are, I think, and what you care about. And I feel like as long as I have enough freedom to do the things that I want to do with my family and be at the events and the birthday parties, that's what drives me internally, right? I want my
Mm.
kids to know I was there for them. I want to have those memories. I want my wife to know I was there. And when I'm older, I don't want to look back and say, man, I wish I would have spent more time with my kids. Right. I'll say that anyway, but I don't know if there's much more way I could spend more time with my kids. I spend so much time with my kids. They're probably sick of me, but
That's great.
that's what my internal values and drive are. Right. So if your values are, if you're sitting at a place where you're like, I'm so happy, I don't want anything to change. And the opposing view was you wanted to get your message to millions and change the world. Those are in conflict. So you got to kind of decide which one you want to go with or which
Zach,
when you
this is, sorry, go ahead. So,
no, I'm pretty much done with the thought. When, and sometimes it's timing. Like right now, you might be kicking back saying, hey, I'm enjoying this time and I'm doing what I love. But in the back of your mind, at some point, if you do want to reach millions and change the world, you're going to have to kick it up and probably sacrifice a little bit of the kickback. You know what I mean?
the realization, well, first of all, there's one thing I've been going through this. Nietzsche said, be careful when casting out your demon, you don't throw out the best of you. Been in that caterpillar to butterfly.
Mhm.
The butterfly's still not cracking out of the cocoon. Recently, though, the challenge was the people that work with us, like our internal people, I don't like using the word employee, but I should just use the words, just like words matter. The
Mhm.
people that work with us, if I don't grow, I can't create upward mobility for them.
Right.
And without that, I'm letting them down.
It's affecting your culture.
It's weighing on my conscience. Like, I got a responsibility to, I've got a responsibility. But that where I used to drive from in the past was so anxious and enigmatic and frenetic. As I benefited from my own work, our own work, the Nietzsche quote came to mind. Be careful when casting out your demon, you don't throw the best of you. So where if you start to become happy, not maybe that's not the word to use, meaning things start more balanced. Now I'm starting to actually have symptoms, negative consequences of succeeding or catching that. I don't know. I'm curious what your thoughts are, because you're a philosophical guy. I consider you that. And
I've had some of the
what
same
advice you have?
experience. I've had some of the same experience you're talking about is, having doing the work and getting to a level where you feel really good about it, right? And kind of just enjoying the fruits, right? And you've done all this work and you've acquired all this knowledge and you've helped all these people and you start to sit back and think it's enough and it very well could be. It's just what is it in alignment with what you want to do still? Like your mission when you started, is that still your mission or is the mission changed based on your experience now, right? And if it's changed, that's okay. But if it hasn't changed, that's going to really eat at you, right? So I'm kind of in between on that as well. As I want I want to make bigger impact. I want to do more. I want to leave a great legacy and a name for myself, not necessarily to everybody, but for my family at least. Right? I want
Hmm.
them to know that I did what I could to be a good person, give them a good life, have the experiences. Um, but do I need to do more to do that? I probably need to reassess that myself a little bit and
Well,
decide
isn't
how
a big
much.
piece of it, or go ahead. Sorry, got excited.
No, I was almost done talking, but just reassessing what I want, what I need, what I'll be uh proud of, right? When I'm done, because you never know when you're going to be done, right? So there's kind of that inward pressure of time constraint versus quality time um with people you know and love, and um making the best decision based on what you want out of this life.
Hmm. I uh, all right, so I wrote this down. This is some of your notes to go back to what you said. Shaking hands is there. That's one way of that's a communal in person. You're not necessarily considering that marketing, maybe in the capacity of like physically going somewhere to meet people, but you didn't say that. You said shaking hands. I wrote down the video of the podcasts.
Yeah,
I
that's a
wrote down
must.
that's a must. And that's not happening right now.
You're doing
It's
it
just
anyway.
audio.
You're doing it anyway. Why wouldn't look at I mean our mutual friend Brad, look at all the content that he's putting out on social media. Like, and you do these long, very
Long, yeah.
in-depth podcasts with high-level people, and you can't tell me there's not at least 15 or 20 clips that you could pull from each one of those podcasts, put out there, and people will say, wow, that's really profound. I align
There's
with this
hundreds,
guy. Huh?
hundreds,
Yeah,
hundreds.
but I'm saying
There's thousands.
at least, even with the worst guest you've ever had, 15
I can't even
quality
think of a
clips.
worse guest.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Between you, what you say, and the people you have on, the quality of content that you could be putting out there organically, so that people see it and are attracted to you and what you're doing and your movement would be profound on your business. And it's not scripted; it's off the cuff, and it lets people know who you are. So you're going to attract people who are like-minded, or at least want to listen to what you have to say. And I think that'd be really good for your business. And that's without even taking some of that content and promoting it.
What about you mentioned this idea of a list of human beings?
Oh, like an email list.
Yeah, explain that to a third grader. I know you were playing chess in third grade, but I'm still in third grade when it comes to email list.
So, I mean, an email list is probably your most valuable asset as far as internal marketing. It's all the people who raised their hand and said, "Yes, I want something from you," or "I want to hear what you have to say," and it's yours, right? All those emails are, you own them. So Facebook or Google or any of the platforms where you market can take their audience and it can disappear, or they could sell it and no longer offer advertising, and it's not your audience anymore. Right? They could ban you. They could say, you're gone, you're out of here, buddy. But your email list, it's yours. You own it. You can communicate with people on your email list in whatever capacity you want. I mean, I'd obviously recommend speaking to them in a manner that attracted them, but putting out a video and say, hey, enter your email so you can watch this video I did with so and so, or I'll give you this list of things to do in your business. If you give me your email list, I'll email it to you, and then you have it, and you can send them your newsletter, tell them about your upcoming book, tell them about your podcast, sell your course, offer your coaching, whatever it is. um it's probably for a lot of people the most valuable asset in marketing.
How do people do it in a way that backfires? What are some of the no-nos?
As far as Building an email list?
Yeah, building and leveraging. What would you say? Like clear no-nos that someone listening to this might be able to say, oh,
Well,
shit, I better stop that. Or
I mean, number one, don't be spamming people, right? Nobody signs up to get spammed. They're usually looking for something valuable, semi-valuable, at least in exchange for being bothered, right? Because that's what most people's emails are is, oh, what's this thing? But if they see emails coming from you and they know that there's valuable content in there, they're not going to have that uh psychological reaction, right? They're going to say, ooh, what's this? What's he sending me? He's sending me something valuable. He usually gives me good stuff. um I would say give the people what you say they're going to give them. A lot of times people say, hey, put your email in for this thing, and they never send it, or they they get your phone number and call you up and spam you and just try to sell you. Like, just be in alignment with what you say you're going to do, right?
so it's an extension of the relationship.
It is. It really
But do
is.
people negate? They may abuse the relationship
Absolutely.
without being aware of it. Like it's a medium of culture that sounds like it often is used in a cult-like manner. Like it's like having a conversation with somebody and talking at them versus with them.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm
And
curious what your thoughts are on that.
I think if you give people what you say you're going to give them, it is a good relationship. If you tell them one thing and you just completely flip, you not only are doing them a disservice, you're doing yourself a disservice, because they're not going to trust you anymore. They're probably going to report you as spam. They're probably going to tell their friends not to listen to that guy. But if you're leading with value and, like I said, good intentions and wanting to help people, and you stay true to that, and people give you their information, all you can do is attract them even more to be closer to being in your tribe. So then they start to say, wow, all this stuff this guy gives me for free, he must be such a good guy, right? And then you offer them something paid or a service or a conference, and they're like, I have to go to that, right? I have to sign up. I have to find a way, because they've given me so much good information relevant to me, aligned with my problems or where I want to be, that I can't not listen or do, or at least try to attend this person's thing. Where the opposite can be true as well. You can repel them very quickly. And a lot of people, I don't know if they're doing it because they're just thinking the law of large numbers, or they've gotten bad information somewhere and they just think, I'll just hammer them until they have to. But they could still make money, but you can't build a good reputation and a good name for yourself in your space by doing that.
What type of timeline do you think is responsible to give oneself if their goal is to be considered a subject matter expert and serve, let's say, an email list, a consumer base? Like, what type of vision? How many years does it take
I don't think it's
in your experience?
I don't think it's a time thing. I think it's a lot developed or based on you and how not only you can consume and absorb knowledge in an area, but that you can consume and absorb knowledge and be able to transfer that knowledge in an efficient manner uh, to the people you're trying to help. Because, I mean, a lot of people say they'd want their kids trained by my son, for example. He plays baseball at a high level. A lot of people would want their kids only trained by somebody who played in the MLB, right? Because they were at the highest level. And ideally that would be true. But if that coach can't communicate how they were able to attain their success, or they're so far different from your kid or my kid, that their style wouldn't mesh, right? You would do them more harm. then they wouldn't be the best coach. The best coach might be somebody who only ever played high school baseball or never even played, but they understand the area so well that they can transfer that knowledge and it will have a positive impact on that kid, right? And it's the same in any type of subject. If you can consume the knowledge and effectively communicate to a person in a manner what's going to help them, it doesn't matter the time, right? Somebody might have a photographic memory and consume the knowledge in a week, whereas somebody might take 10 years and still might mumble when they talk and not be able to convey that knowledge to help that person.
Mm.
But on average, I'd say you probably need to give something a solid year, 2 years of not only learning but doing, right? And then just really work on understanding people's different personalities so that you'll be able to communicate them more effectively and be adjustable so that you can better serve.
What other, if you were, let's beat me up.
What? Well, what you should do?
How can we do better? How can,
Well,
who the hell is Jay Doran?
I
Who is
mean,
John Galt?
yeah, I mean, from not being your friend, I'd say I wouldn't ever know who you were. I don't see anything online besides being your friend and seeing stuff you post because I'm your friend. So that's your biggest thing. You're not recording the podcast with video. You need to. You probably need to put a little bit of pressure on yourself to do that. If you don't like how you look, set up a studio that you want to look good. Cut your hair how you want, do what you need to do.
You think I should get rid of the hair?
No, I think you look good. You got a Jesus vibe going.
I've been asking people, should I cut it back? Because you met me, I was basically a naked mole rat at the time.
Yeah, you had
I had the faux hawk.
you had the slick backs, shaved sides, the whole thing. But no, I think it looks fine. I think
Now it looks like I've been living in a cave for 3 years.
But I think there's some reason why you're not doing video, and it's not, that I don't know what it is, but you should be doing video, even if you're just storing the stuff for a record, right? But all the positives from recording your video far outweigh not. Even if it's not the greatest quality camera, greatest lighting, you feel like you need to go to the gym, whatever, right?
Yeah.
The positives far outweigh the negatives. You'll be able to use that stuff. You'll be able to send it to your guests. You'll be able to, create value one way or another. So that, and then once you do get that, promote it, put it out there organically, put it out there paid, create different services, different tiers, different offerings, free, cheap, more expensive. Obviously if you want to make money, but I haven't looked at your website in a while. I don't know if you even send traffic there. You got to send traffic to where people can learn about what you're trying to do in a snapshot. Probably need to make a newsletter, even if it's having somebody paraphrase a episode of a podcast and send it out. Just taking the actions, doing the uncomfortable stuff, sucking at it a little bit until you become an expert. And that's what all the people do in the subject matter area, but they won't do in the marketing, the sales, and the branding. Be willing to suck at it a little bit so you can become good.
What have you seen any of, I should have sent you some of the videos on Instagram before we did this so you could have critiqued them. Well, we'll have to have you back to do that because there's these clips of me talking.
I remember you doing some interview style stuff that was high quality. I liked that. But you're not doing that near as much as you're doing this, right? This is episode 161.
So we're releasing 2 of these a week, and it's about to be 3.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to interview 600 people in the next 2 years. Like, I think I'm just going to interview.
So
I know a lot of people.
Also think about the good you can do by putting it out there. Like, for example, you probably feel based on my look, you probably feel a little bit of pressure to up your game a little bit, right? Like, hey, I need to do something like that. That'd be cool.
What do you mean?
The studio stuff, looking professional.
Looks beautiful. I wish, it's funny because had you, had I been able to actualize your advice here,
And you
people could
should.
see this damn studio you got.
Absolutely.
It's sick. I
Yeah.
get to bask in it. Looks very high end.
But you could very easily set something up like this yourself. And then when you're putting out the content, your future guests are going to see that and they're going to think, oh man, I need to up. So then you're not going to have the grainy, iPhone, crappy sound, bad visual. Everybody who comes on is going to want to up their game, even if it's just a little bit. And
Do
you're
you
impacting
think
them.
that subconsciously it increase authority?
100%. I think consciously.
What can you elaborate?
As far as how you present yourself, how
So
you
there's a
look.
guest coming on the show
Mhm.
and they see what I see when I look at you.
Yeah.
And they're
You
thinking,
can't help but think, wow, that looks cool. I'd like to do that. I don't want to look blown out and have the whites too bright and harsh light over me. I want to look professional, right? When I'm speaking and I look professional, I'll sound more professional if I've got a good microphone. I'll be more clear. I'll be more confident, right?
I'm like meek. That's the word. Not even humble, just meek. Let's look up the definition.
All right, Brad.
I know, but hey,
Taking the literal
give
definition
Brad a
of me.
shout out. Episode 49 of the Culture Matters pod. Gonna have him back, but
Can't help but talk about Brad.
What'd you say?
We can't help but talk about Brad.
Well,
He's got,
because
you know
frankly,
why? He's got so much content out there, man. He's
I
got
would argue that part of the reason he comes off often is because, I mean, shit, I'm basically following in his footsteps without realizing it. Basically, like the most obscure human ever that's helped people in power that nobody would have any idea. And I told him this recently. I said, one thing I'm not going to do is do what you did. Take 20 years to show who I am. And that's because he's helped me with that. You know that. You've helped me with that. You're helping me right now. But basically, right, that's the whole idea there is you got to, Abraham Lincoln said, I learn from everybody I meet. Usually it's what not to do. I got a responsibility to, but this is the contention, Zach. Like, if I have to choose between the client's betterment and mine, it's going to be them.
I agree. That's why
That doesn't mean that we can't, or go ahead. Sorry, I don't want
to. Sorry for cutting you off. But
no, this is good. This is good.
If you were to look me up right now, I would sound like a hypocrite because I'm not putting myself out there very much.
Well, but I want to acknowledge you and affirm you in a constructive way. There is a difference between a marketer of marketing and a marketer. And I would argue the former, the marketer of marketing. And I've had marketers of marketing on. They don't actually perform value to clients. They just marketing.
Right.
You perform value to clients. And by the way, that's not to negate that marketer of marketing. That'd be like saying that a professor is an asshole because consultants exist.
Right.
A professor teaching in a school is delivering a value. The student is learning through them. They're explaining the textbook. A consultant that is an adjunct professor that works with you and me and advises us on our small business. Oh, I lost your video for a second. Here. The consultant, I do think there's a difference between what you are bringing to our audience and what those that market the idea of marketing. So you and me might learn from a marketer of marketing how to market, but we're not going to work with them long term. We're going to work with Zach Conley long term because he's going to have a handful of clients. His firm is going to have a few dozen entities, right? Maybe 100 companies under its services, maybe 200 someday. And like it's Ogilvy, nobody knows them unless they know them. I don't, it's just like they're, but I'm curious what your thoughts are. That doesn't mean I'm trying to.
No, I'm identifying with your struggle is I'm in the trenches so much helping other people that anytime I feel like I get a breath to promote my stuff for me, something else comes up that takes priority because my my job is other people's success, right? So I can't put my wants, and even if it's what I believe and what I tell people and what I
Yes.
teach, I have a moral obligation to them to help them first. And the amount of things that come up that distract me from running my own ads, doing my own podcast, which I was trying to do, and then just got entirely too busy, um, conflict with that. And yeah, you got to make a choice. So either I need to replace myself in my company so I can do those things, or I got to make my priorities. But um, yeah, I'm not the one saying I was going to change the world and reach millions of people. That was your mission when we met. So
Hmm.
that mission's the same. You're going to have to find a way to do both.
Well,
And
I think that I think the challenge is important, because
yes,
without it, think about it. If we're going to do both, provide a service to those that if we're marketing ourselves, hey, this is what we can do and this is how we can do it, and this is what you want to do it with us, it would be a betrayal of the word to not fulfill the word relative to the client paying, right?
but also I
Right.
think
It would be,
you're not too far away from being able to do both because half of your company is creating content anyway. So it's just adjusting how you create the content and having somebody
what do you
go
mean?
out
What do you mean?
like you're already creating like your service is from your knowledge, right? To help people better their companies, better themselves. And a lot of that you share through this medium, through the podcast, right? You attract people. This is already a form of marketing, right? You would just be
Yeah, well, I use
adjusting
it
it.
for or go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, it would be adjusting it to make it
I
more
agree with that.
efficient to be able to put it out there. And then having some budget for it, number one, but making it a priority and not necessarily the only priority, but making it a higher priority than it is now. I think it'd be a lot easier than you think it would probably be, even.
I don't think it's, I'm not, no, I think it's extreme. I I think it's, I agree with everything you're saying. This is, I think this is, God, outside, I think that there's a lot of ways to impact the world. I would actually argue our mission hasn't changed.
Good.
It's how we're impacting, right? So the last handful of years, it was very important for us as a firm to be what we say we are, which means, grow with our client partners, right? For them to grow, for, and for the results to be reflected in the fruit of their organization's growth. I mean, that was most important. And that's why I fought, like, who am I really? Am I a speaker, or am I the consigliere, the cultural advisor to the operating principle of equities, the founder, e.g., potentially CEO, because those can be different, of the organization.
Mhm.
Now, if I am the latter, the cultural advisor to the operating principle, there's a lot of work to be done.
Yes.
And now that doesn't mean that I can't figure out how to share the message of culture matters, which is what you're alluding to, which I agree with absolutely. And it comes to the plan and the who, right? Making those investments, growing into them. And it's why, this is a wonderfully timely dialogue. I can say that rather in our business development up to this point, we took all that IP and implementation and energy and lasered it to our client partners. And now we're getting to the point where some of those resources are coming back to me.
Okay.
And so like, this is the most timely piece of this dialogue, because you're exactly right. And the question is when and in what order. That becomes like almost an ethical conversation. Like there's different types of people, right?
Right.
And yeah.
How many could you effectively serve, right? If you were to, do everything I say, and in the process of that, you're already interviewing, CEOs and high level people who you work with, right? Who you're going to attract are
Yeah,
those
and no
people,
one
most
knows.
likely.
And I'm like, I've been absolutely neurotic and paranoid. I don't talk about who our client partners are.
Right.
Although if someone listens to the podcast closely enough, they can kind of put it together.
Mhm.
But I get really weird about that stuff. And I'm not saying that that's the right thing to do. I'm not making a value judgment for other people. I'm just expressing the psychology of me and then the human in my seat based on the and in fact the people there have been our client partners have been trying to, like, some of them have been saying, like, telling other people,
Nice.
and I tried to get them to stop it.
Well, and
Stop
there's
it.
something to that. So me as a marketer, former sales rep, account executive, you think more, right? Let's get more. Getting more is better. Getting more helps the client. Getting more is serving. But I actually had a couple incidents where I put a client out of business by getting them too much business.
They were overwhelmed.
Yeah, and they didn't tell me. So I tripled their business in a very short
Holy
amount of
moly.
time. And every report I got back was they were happy, right? Yes, this is amazing. Changed my business. I'm so grateful. So I am continually bringing in a tremendous amount of traffic and leads and conversions, and they weren't able to fulfill. And they had cash flow problems from inventory and not being able to produce, and it put them out of business. So had they communicated with me, hey, I don't know if I can handle this, because that's always a question I have too, is will you be able to handle this? I I think they just didn't want to tell me they couldn't handle it, and it put them out
You
of
think there's a
business.
level
So
of shame in that, in a sense, too? I mean, right, we're both business owners. Could there
there
be
must have
embarrassment?
been, I don't know, because for me, I would just say, oh man, this is awesome. Let's slow down a little bit. I got this issue or that issue. But, some people, they want to be the king of their market. They're thinking they can handle it. And then all of a sudden they couldn't get a loan to cover the materials needed, and boom, it's gone. They can't fulfill, they can't provide. And I put somebody out of business effectively. I mean, I don't feel like I was responsible, but indirectly, put them out of business by doing too good of a job and too much too fast. So there's that part to it too. But yeah, I guess it's just, what can you handle? How can you effectively serve against the time constraints of your goal and your allotted time in life for your moonshot that we used to talk about, of changing the world and reaching millions of people and all that. So you got to be able to effectively serve the people you're working with now. You got to be able to handle it. If you do take on new people, do you want to? How does that affect your day-to-day life? All those things. How does it affect your team? If you were to 10 times your business right now, or 5 times your business right now, it'd introduce a whole lot of problems that you got to address, and determine if you could handle.
I think if I'm honest with myself, I started my career as Alexander the Great. King Philip, he inherited 40,000 men. There was a level of entitlement there. But his father tried to bed the love of his life, and they got in an argument, and his father tried to stab him, and he drunkenly fell over himself. And that was the last time they talked before Alexander's father was killed and he never saw him again. So he had that chip on his shoulder, having parted from somebody he greatly admired. So there was entitlement from being given Aristotle as a mentor, from being from at a young age riding that famous horse and the acclaim that came with it, from going on campaign with Pops and having a father like that teach. There was a level of entitlement, privilege. There was also resentment. And he took that resentment and he conquered Macedon, chased Darius III across Persia. His own men chopped off Darius' head and gave it to Alexander, conquered North Africa. And at some point, his own men killed him, is what it looks like, because he wouldn't go home. So at some point in this journey, I died. It was around the time that I got paralyzed. And I'm in the, where I started as Alexander, I'm now awakening more so as, well, at least it appears to be, Truett Cathy. That didn't open up another location at Chick-fil-A for 20 years. Like, they didn't hire the marketing firm for 20 years. And then they actually hired a professional firm, kind of like Zach 2.0, or, the future Zach was hired by Truett Cathy. And they came up with that cow idea, eat more chicken, like accidentally, but they realized, oh my God, that's the genius idea. So they started with that one restaurant for 2 decades, and then little by little grew to what it is today over the following 2 decades or so. I don't know, all that just kind of flooded in there at the end. What I want to do, if you're willing, I'd love to do a part 2 on how, I wrote this down. What can you handle? How can you serve? And really as a call to action, though, for the audience in closing, for those that can handle, can humbly tell you, right, when to turn the spigot down.
Right.
How can they contact you or hire you? Because I think it'd be good to, for those that are listening, that wouldn't be ashamed to tell you that the spigot needs it, right? They don't think that it's going to be them that goes out of business from too much opportunity. Right. How can they contact you? Like, what's the, and, are you taking on people and
Yeah. I mean, if I'm in,
email you,
you can email me. I guess my personal is, my name is Zachary Conley 85 at Gmail. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. Got a website in development. It's called Icons Digital with a Z.
I like it.
But it's Conley and Zach kind of to get a little clever. Iconsdigital.com. You could submit a contact us there. Reach out on social media. I'm responsive. So,
any final thoughts?
No, it's good to see you, man. It's been too long. When's the wedding date, the wedding bells, all that?
Well, we're eloping.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, we'll have to, I'll tell you offline. I don't want any fans.
Oh, sorry.
No. I'd like people to know we're still getting married. Yeah, I love her.
I think everybody should elope.
Yeah,
it makes it easy.
Yeah. I'll tell you offline what the deal is. Right. Remember, I'm not as good of a barker. Yeah. If the real world, the real culture.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate you asking. Still doing that.
Good. Oh, thanks for having me on. It's been fun. It's always fun. Culture matters.